The beast lay dead, a snarl baring its grisly teeth. Scars in the shape of stabs and slashes covered the creature's body. It had known hunger, depravity, and the lash. Metal bindings ate into the flesh around its ankles. This creature had been subjected to cruelties unfathomable to our people. Tragic as it was, there was little pity for the fallen beast. My uncle was gravely wounded and passed shortly after the beast was slain, as my father tried desperately to aid him. By this point my grandfather was fuming in a delirious rage. My father and the others did what they could to save him. He survived the ordeal, but lost his leg below the knee. His wounds would heal, but the loss of his oldest son so soon after losing so many to the sickness was more than his mind could bear. With the passing of Rathos came another wave of grief to our household. Rathos too had lost his wife to the sickness, leaving his son orphaned with his passing. This is how Corey, the son of Rathos, came to live with my father and me. In time, broken hearts would heal as best they could. Corey and I became his brothers. We rarely spoke of our dear departed. Instead, we focused on our training, growing stronger with my father as our guide. Corey had little trouble advancing in combat, and eventually it became quite difficult for me to match him. Our competitive spirits kept us striving to be faster and stronger as the days went on. I would not have been half as accomplished if not for the extra challenge of his rival. Corey and I were trained with short swords. The combination of a small rounded shield and a shorter blade had shaped the technique passed down to the descendants of Kragar. Corey's father had began his training in this style, as my father had elected to do with me. I, however, did not care much for having the small shield and preferred to fight without it, much to my father's dismay. I felt lighter, faster, and more maneuverable. It felt natural. Eventually my father relented, allowing me to train how I saw fit. He pushed me harder to make up for the lack of a shield. I was to be stronger, faster, and more versatile in my abilities to compensate. I trained to use both hands, together and independently. Ambidexterity added to the fluidity of my movements. I had even given my best attempt at using a twin dagger set, though I was more distracted and clumsy with two blades, it seemed. Nevertheless, I was well on the path to mastering my own way. By the year of sending, my father couldn't have been more proud. Corey and I were equals in a spar most days. He used his sword and shield well, and together we grew to be bold young warriors under the tutelage of my father. Soon the day came when my father could no longer best the two of us, though I doubt either of us would have truly stood a chance in a real battle against the brawny son of Kragar. His pride grew with each passing day. The booming sound of his voice rang with his excitement as he called out things like "excellent" or "wonderful form, that's the way," over the snapping sounds of wooden replicas crashing together. By the coming of our 14th harvest, my father could scarce keep up with his star pupils. His lost pride seemed to return upon seeing the fruits of his teachings. We were strong, quick, and sharp of wit. We were natural hunters, capable trackers, and novice craftsmen. Corey and I dreamed ourselves to be skilled warriors, more than prepared for the journey ahead, ready for our first steps as men in the eyes of the Defy. Our grandfather Kragar couldn't have been more proud of his two grandsons, shaping into fine young lads. By this time he was a grisly old man with a troubled taste for wine. His beard was gray and haggard, splashed with bits of purple from his drink. The hide of his tunic was worn and musty, like the earth. He was a weathered hulk, and after a few drinks of wine he would pivot about on his crude prosthetic, roaring like an ogre as he moved to playfully scare what few wildlings dared venture near. He never missed an opportunity to brag on the children of his house, telling all how bold and skilled they were becoming. He was ever so proud to boast that only the sons of his sons could rival those of his sworn brother, Darius. A bold eagle marked the symbol of the family crest for many generations before it passed into Darius. Cass and Pole were proud to wear the symbol of their house, displaying the eagle at every opportunity, incorporating it in all their works from the time they could scribble. The headbands that kept their wild hair at bay had rather square-shaped, proud eagles, shakily embroidered into the centerfold that the twins had etched themselves. The duo represented their house well enough that all in Risenbow knew the bushy-haired mischief-makers by name and family. The two had grown to be tall and lanky, but were strong and quick despite their scrawny appearance. This jittery double act was unmatched save for Corey and me, and only rarely did we manage to best them. No matter the challenge, as a team the twins were unstoppable. Corey had grown to be the shortest of the group, but even as a young lad he was already brawny like our fathers. He had a short mane of ratty, sand-colored hair he kept bound back by a scarlet headband, passed from his mother. The tethers that held up his waistcloth were bound to an iron buckle in the shape of a burning sun. It was a symbol of light, a reminder of the house to which he was the sole surviving member. The master metalworker Balthar had helped Corey fashion the buckle not long after he lost his father to the Hatul. I was tall and broad at the shoulders like my father, but lean like the twins. My thick dark locks were those of my mother, as were my talents for speed and agility. The radiant green of my eyes was a trait of my own, it seemed. Nevertheless, the best of both my parents could be seen in me. My heart and mind were open to the world, and my body and spirit strong enough to endure it. I studied under my father alongside my brother Corey. Much to my father's dismay, I struggled in archery, what my father considered his master's skill and craft. I excelled at the crafting portion, quickly honing my technique for shaping a well-balanced and powerful bow. I could chisel stone into fine points and edges, work them into lethal arrows and knives, but it seemed I couldn't shoot an arrow from a bow in hopes to do well by anyone. It made for good laughs, if nothing else. My father was patient and supportive through my struggle, trusting that I would better develop my skill in time. Corey, Cass, and Pole often practiced with me in secret along the river. Corey was of much better help, as the twins often spent their time bickering over one another's advice, which typically ended in a scuffle, cutting the lesson short. Eventually my skill with a bow improved well enough, though I was nowhere near the caliber of my peers. What I lacked in archery was more than compensated in combat. The four of us had grown strong, well learned in the lessons of our fathers before us. It was all in good reason. Once a boy came of age in Reisenbow, he would leave on a pilgrimage to earn his right as a man within the tribe, braving the elements of the four seasons to travel deep into the great forest and back again. It would soon be our time to embark on this journey to rise as men, the sacred sending known as the Aliot.